How can I, 25F, rebuild trust after accidentally reading something private of my partner's, 25M? I recently found myself in a bit of a pickle with my partner. You see, I've always noticed how friends and family display their Christmas and birthday cards around the house. So, when I spotted some birthday cards on his shelf, I thought nothing of it. Curiosity got the better of me, and I took a peek at one. To my surprise, it was much more personal than I ever expected. It was a birthday card from his female best friend, and it mentioned something about their engagement and how she couldn't wait to marry him. My heart sank when I realized that he still lives with her. I had assumed they were just roommates and best friends, not ex-fiancés. Feeling awful, I rushed to confess to him what I had done. But instead of understanding, he was really upset. He said I had betrayed his trust and the trust of the person who wrote the card. He couldn't believe I would go through something so private. I tried to explain that I didn't realize a card on a shelf was private and that I felt terrible for my mistake. Now he's struggling to see how we can move forward. He wants to rebuild our relationship, but he's unsure how to trust me again. I just wish he could understand that it was an honest mistake and that I respect his boundaries. How can I help him see that we can still trust each other?
Am I the bad guy for offering to forgive my parents' debt? I've got a story that's a bit of a roller coaster. So my parents borrowed money from my grandmother that was meant for my education. They used it for family expenses instead. When I got accepted to university, they co-signed my student loans, but when it came time to pay them back, they couldn't manage it. I ended up footing the bill myself. At a family reunion, I discovered I was the only cousin who didn't receive any money from my grandmother. Curious, I asked my aunts and uncles, and they all knew about the funds. Frustrated, I decided to take legal action against my parents to recover what was rightfully mine. After a lengthy process, I won the case, but my parents did everything they could to dodge paying me back. Fast forward 15 years, and while I've managed to do okay for myself, my parents are struggling with their own financial issues. They came to me asking for help, but I said no. They pleaded, and after some serious thought, I decided to forgive their debt to me, which was around $40,000. I had my lawyer send them a letter to cancel it. Now they're upset that I didn't just give them money outright, and instead wrote off a debt they never intended to pay. Honestly, I feel like they've put themselves in this position, and I'm not about to bail them out. It's a complicated situation, but I believe I made the right choice for myself.
Am I the bad guy for telling my sister her baby isn't my responsibility? I'm a 27-year-old woman with a younger sister who is 22. Last year she had a baby, and the situation surrounding the baby's father was quite chaotic. He left her before she was even 6 months pregnant, blocking her and denying any responsibility. When my nephew was born, I was there for her, holding her hand and even sleeping in an uncomfortable hospital chair. I cried tears of joy when I met my little nephew, and I genuinely love him. Initially, I stepped up to help my sister because she was really struggling. Postpartum depression hit her hard, and she would call me at all hours crying because the baby wouldn't stop screaming. I'd drive over, half asleep, just to hold him so she could take a shower or catch a few hours of sleep. I even brought groceries because she often forgot to eat. There were nights I stayed over because she hadn't slept in days. But somewhere along the line, my willingness to help shifted from her asking for support to her assuming I would take care of her baby. One night, after a grueling 10-hour shift, I got a text from her, saying she was on her way and that the baby was fussy. Before I could even process it, she showed up, handed me the diaper bag, kissed the baby, and left. I stood there in my work clothes, holding a screaming baby while I'd ate cold takeout at midnight, feeling overwhelmed and frustrated. I realized I had been canceling plans, missing birthdays, and using my paid time off because daycare fell through. I even bought diapers and formula, and once paid a doctor's copay because she was short on cash. She always promised to pay me back, but that never happened. Whenever I hesitated to help, my mom would remind me that my sister was young and that I was her big sister, so I should show up for family. Last week, my sister asked if I could keep the baby from Friday to Sunday because she needed a mental health weekend. I said no, and there was a long silence before she responded. Wow, so I guess I know who I can't rely on. That comment hit me hard. I replied, probably more harshly than I intended. I love him, but I am not his second parent. You chose to have him. I didn't. She started crying, saying I didn't understand how hard it was to be a single mom, and accused me of abandoning her. Now my mom is barely speaking to me, telling me that one day I'll need help too, and I'll remember this moment. Here's where I start to feel guilty. When I imagine stepping back completely from the situation, I feel a sense of relief. But then I think about my nephew, and I feel sick, because he didn't ask for any of this. He's just a baby, and I don't want to punish him. I care about my sister, who is clearly going through a tough time, but I also don't want my entire life to become something I never agreed to. Am I wrong for setting boundaries? even if it hurts my nephew? Am I the bad guy for letting my son buy something without first having him ask his dad? I recently took a trip to Costco to pick up some groceries when my oldest son spotted a Pokemon set that really caught his eye. He was intrigued but didn't buy it at that moment. After we finished shopping and were waiting in the self-checkout line, he decided to take another look at the set. This time, he expressed a desire to buy it because he thought he could resell it for a profit. With his own money in hand, he made the purchase. However, he then wanted to buy a second set but didn't have enough funds. He turned to me and asked if I could buy it for him, promising to pay me back once he had the money. I teased him a bit, saying it better be worth the investment, but I agreed and paid for the item. As a stay-at-home mom, I don't have my own income. My husband is the sole provider and covers all our expenses, even though I handle the grocery shopping. I use a joint credit card that's in his name, so he pays all the bills. After my son had enough money, he sent my husband $50 through Venmo to pay me back, which was a bit more than the $45 he borrowed. When my husband saw the Venmo transaction, he was confused and unhappy. He told our son that he should have asked him for permission before making any purchases because it was his money. This left me feeling a bit caught off guard. I didn't see an issue with making the purchase for my son since I knew he would pay me back. In our household, I often use his money as if it were my own, and I rarely ask for approval for purchases. This has been our routine for the past 6 years. Now I'm left wondering if I overstepped by not having my son ask his dad first. Am I the bad guy for allowing my son to make this purchase without consulting my husband?